everybody, welcome to yoga this afternoon and thank you for joining me. Today we're going to do a little bit of journaling before we get started in our yoga flow, and we're going to learn a little bit about one of the yoga deities, you might call him. His name is Ganesh, and he's represented by the head of an elephant. So if you look at my shirt, this is Ganesh. Easily recognizable because he's got a huge elephant head, and he's known as the remover of obstacles. This is a deity or a god that is found throughout India, the entire sub-Asian continent, in Tibet, China, even all the way over in Japan. So this is an idea that originated in one space and then spread all over an entire side of the globe. When you think about Ganesh, again, he's the remover of obstacles, and he's often described as walking and using his elephant trunk to knock obstacles out of the way of his followers. So it's a fun little lesson on one of our yoga gods, Hindu gods, Buddhist gods. There's a lot of overlap between these Eastern religions that we often don't hear about in the West. So it's nice to just kind of remember that there are other ways of doing things, other belief systems going on in the world, and that they can all work together. It's just nice to be aware of them. So to begin with, you can grab a journal or just a sheet of paper, whatever you'd like. And thinking about Ganesh, what obstacles do you find in your life? Are you where you want to be now? Most of us aren't at your age, but maybe you are. Maybe you feel really unobstructed in your life right now. And that would be a good opportunity to just feel gratitude. If you do feel like there's some obstacles in your life, even if you're not sure quite what they are yet, that's okay. You can just sort of set your intention for our practice today as maybe figuring out what those obstacles might be and how you could get past them, or, as is usually the case, go straight through them. So let's spend a few minutes together, and we're just going to journal about, it can be about what we just talked about, or maybe you've got something else on your mind that you'd like to kind of get down on paper. So let's just take a few minutes, not long at all, and sketch out a few things in our life that we would like to find our way through. Maybe it's something that has to do with money. Maybe it's something that has to do with schoolwork. Or maybe you're starting to worry about college. Where are you going to go to college? Where are you going to get money for college? All of these things. And it could be something much smaller than that too. No worry is unimportant. So, with that being said, I'm going to stop talking for a minute and let's all just write together. Okay, so take a moment and maybe set this aside. You may even put it under a mat or next to the mat that you practice on. Sometimes it's nice to have our intention physically present right there with us. You can also always keep it in your mind. So let's get started with our yoga practice. We're gonna start, as we normally do, by warming up the spine. So let's start with a big twist. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, twist all the way to one side. Big deep twist, lifting the chest. Using those inhales to get a little taller and using the exhales to go a little bit deeper into the stretch. Now on an inhale, sweep that back arm up and over, and we'll side bend in our twist. So keep this front arm nice and straight and just side bend. Sort of like you're dropping this inside shoulder to the inside knee. Try to look up at your hand. If this feels like too much on your neck, maybe look down. And think about spiraling the chest open toward the ceiling. So create some counter action with the back of your hand or the palm of your hand against that thigh, and just allow the chest to open up. Another option is to flip this back hand, drop it behind you. You might grab your hip or your inner thigh, a lot like we did a couple days ago. One more big round of breath here. Exhale completely, pressing that stale air out of your lungs. And then inhale, both arms lift, twist back through center to the other side. And just take a few minutes to find your twist. Inhaling to lift the chest, exhaling to go a little bit deeper into the twist, as if this outside rib cage could touch that outside elbow. Keep this front arm nice and straight. Stay focused on your breath. Create a nice steady rhythm for yourself with your inhales and your exhales. Now keeping this front arm anchored, sweep your back arm up and over, side bending. So we're starting our yoga practice by moving our spine in all 6 directions. Take another round of breath here. Big deep exhale, and then inhale back to center. Bring both arms up and just exhale the hands into heart center. Cup your knees with your palms. You can be in an easy cross-legged seat here, whatever feels best. Feel free to have one leg in front of the other if you like. Cupping your knees. As you inhale, roll your shoulders back, open up your chest, lift your gaze. As you exhale, round the spine forward, tuck your chin. Inhale to open up, stretch out the front of the body. Exhale to close it down, rounding the back body. So as we said before, we're beginning by working the spine in all 6 directions. Our spines can move side to side, as in our side bend. We can twist left, twist right. And then finally, we can go out like this, and then round in like this. And this is just a good thing to do every day for your spine, to keep it healthy. Keep it moving strong well after you're grown and have grandchildren. You'll still be able to run around and play with them because of all this work that you did on your spine. All right, good job. So let's begin to get a little more active. We're going to come into the all fours and just do a few rounds of cat and cow. So this is the same motion we just did seated. It's a little more intense in this position. Also gives you a bit more of a stretch. So inhale to pull your chest forward. Exhale to round the spine, dropping the crown of the head, tucking the tailbone. And just move with your breath at your own pace. Next time that you exhale, let's find a nice rounded spine. And just stay right here. Press into your hands. Try to drop the crown of your head down and just gently shake your head from side to side. Keep gripping through the fingertips so you're anchoring yourself down. Arms straight and strong. Your neck loosen up. Imagine a little weight attached to the crown of your head that's drawing it down toward the mat, toward the floor. Coming on back to center. Let's sink the hips back to child's pose. Take your arms out nice and long. Try to be on the tips of your fingers, just like this, so that your elbow, your arm is all lifted away from the mat. Try to let your head relax down. And then nice and slowly, just start to walk your hands all the way over to one side. Relax the head down, take a nice long breath. And then walk it back through center. Nice and slow. All the way over to the other side, sinking down, breathing in. One more round on this side. Back to center. Plant your hands, roll up nice and slowly. Try to let your head be the last thing that lifts. And then from here, we're going to make our way into down dog. So hips up and back. Take a moment to find your down dog. This is our first one of the day, so make it messy. Just let it feel good in your body as you pedal your feet, maybe twist your hips around like that. I like to drop my knees really low and then push back up. Just kind of find a little motion like this. Let's take about 5 more rounds of breath to find our down dog. When you're ready, feel free to find stillness or continue to find a little motion here. As we spoke of earlier this week, you can make these poses static, meaning you just hold them in one place without movement, or you can add a little fluid motion. Whatever feels best in your body is exactly where you need to be. So just keep listening to your body. That's your best teacher. All right, so we're gonna work on something a little new today. Often when we bring our feet forward, we pour our weight into our hands, we come as high as we can onto our toes, and we tiptoe our feet forward. So our weight's really in the hands. If we wanted to, ideally, we could pick up the feet. So now, let's try to jump the feet forward. The first few times you do this, it's probably gonna be a little awkward, and that is perfectly fine. So give yourself a chance to just be awkward for a second. I want you to bend your knees. You're kind of up on the balls of your feet. Let me walk my feet in so you can see them. And then from here, look at that space between your hands. Really activate these muscles in your low belly. And at the base of your exhale, as you breathe out, we're gonna hop the feet forward. So take a big breath in and hop. Inhale to lift the spine, exhale to fold over the legs. And let's stay here for a few rounds of breath and just let our hamstrings lengthen out, let the backs of the legs lengthen out. Grab your elbows, relax your head, and just let yourself sway. And then let the hands come down. Let's walk the hands all the way to one side. Keep your legs just as they are. So your legs are this strong, steady foundation. Only the upper body is moving here. So walk your hands around. Try to relax your neck. Bend your knees as much as you need to, because this is a lot in that long band of fascia. The IT band, we talked about that a little bit last time. Long band of fascia that runs down the outer length of your leg. If you feel some tension there, feel free to palpate those muscles. We did this a little bit last time too. We talked about the piriformis, that tight little muscle in your hip. So using your fist and kind of pounding on your glutes, as odd as it may look, feels fantastic, especially if there's some tightness or some tension there. So all my runners, my football players, do this, it'll feel good, even if it looks silly. I'm doing it right here with you, so let's move to the other side. Walk them on over, stretch it out, bend your knees as much as you need to, and then reach back and same thing. Kind of like you're tenderizing meat, which in a sense you are, just not for the purposes of eating, just to loosen things up a little bit. You may feel this right here in these muscles that feel like they're a little bit more part of your back. So if it feels good to get your fingers in there, rub it out, go for it. Your fingers can do a lot to loosen up your muscles and release some of that lactic acid. So anytime that we use our muscles, especially when we use them forcefully or quickly, we create something called lactic acid that's a byproduct of our muscles working. And that lactic acid is what causes that cramping feeling, like when you're running and you get that sharp pain in your chest, or your muscles just get really, really painfully tight. That's lactic acid. The good news is you can get rid of it fairly simply by just massaging it out. Or if you have a roller, like a foam roller, which I don't have, but basically anything long, kind of like a rolling pin would be perfect. And you would just put it under whatever muscle you want to roll out, and then just kind of slide back and forth and roll out that muscle, just like you would roll out dough before you made cookies. All right, so that little digression aside, let's find yourself back in a squat, just like we did on Monday. Bring the palms together, press the palms together. Try to find some connection between your thumbs, between all your fingertips, and imagine you're drawing a line down your sternum, down that bony part of your chest. Try to press your knees as far apart as you can, but if it feels like too much in the hips, feel free to bring your legs a little bit closer together, and you may be closer to here, and that's fine. We're going to jump right into Sun Salutation B, which is something we skipped last practice in favor of working a little more on Sun Salutation A, and then moving into an arm balance called Bakasana. So today we're going to do Sun Salutation B and then play with another arm balance. So that being said, we're going to walk through this first Sun Salutation C pretty slowly. Take your hands down. Give your legs a chance to kind of warm up. You may want to shake your ankles out after being in that squat. And then from here, we're going to come all the way up to center. Take the arms up and then draw your hands into Anjali Mudra. All right. Before we start, take a few minutes to rock back and forth in your feet, coming high up onto your toes, lifting your heels, and then sinking back in your heels. Just to give yourself a sense of grounding down into the mat, into the floor beneath you, and creating a sense of connection, of being rooted down, so to speak. 3 more times, just like this. See how much control you can get. Good job. All right, let's bring the feet flat to the floor. So go ahead and bring your feet together so the inner lines of your feet are touching. Relax your shoulders down away from your ears. Now on an inhale, we are going to bend the knees deeply and see if we can touch the fingertips down just to the outsides of our feet. If your hands don't come all the way down, that's fine. You can be right here. When you're ready, take the arms up. Try to lift the chest. So from the side, we want to tuck the tailbone so we don't have this big arch in the back like this. This is an easy way to do the pose, but it also causes a lot of compression in the low back. So think of rounding your tailbone down toward your heels. Slide those shoulders down. If it's available, try to sit down 2 more inches. Don't forget to breathe. You got this. 2 more. Deep inhales, deep exhales. 1 more inhale. Let it go on an exhale. Fold over your legs. Let's take a little break here. Feet wide. Sway a few times from side to side. And now come to stillness. Halfway lift on your inhale. As you exhale, plant your hands. You can step your feet back or jump your feet back into low plank. If you stepped back, lower down. Inhale, lift the chest, open it up, pull your shoulders down and back. And then exhale your hips up and back into downward facing dog for 3 rounds of breath. Don't forget, you can always bring your knees down here. Take a little break whenever you need to. This is your practice. This is not about making your body do what everybody else's body does. It's about finding something that feels good for you. It's the only person you need to worry about. Let's take that right foot up and back. Bend your knees, stack open your hips. Try to really press in to your left hand to counteract that tendency to kind of sink over here to the right. All right, take another big inhale. As you exhale, step the right foot forward, spin that back heel down, and then inhale your way up. Try to square the hips. You might take your hands to your hips and physically press them forward. Remember to eliminate that arch in the back. We're not trying to go for a big back bend here. We're trying to reach up. Remember, this is a warrior pose. Imagine that you could be so strong in this pose that a football player could try to tackle you and he would just kind of fall off to the side. He or she would just kind of fall off to the side. So you really want this pose to be all about strength. Maybe your hands come together. If that feels good on your shoulders, go for it. If it feels like a bit too much, take your hands nice and wide. Beautiful. 1 more round of breath here. As you exhale, lengthen out over that right thigh. Plant your hands. Step your right foot back. We're going to hold this plank for 5 rounds of breath. Don't be afraid to bring your knees down. 2, 3, 4, And 5, lower down. Inhale, lift the chest, shoulders back, gaze up. Exhale, hips up and back. Take that left foot right on up and back. Open up the hips. This is a good place to notice which hip may be a little more open than the other. Try to press into your right hand to level out the 2 sides of the body. 2 more rounds of breath here. Now pull that left knee in toward your core as you step the foot forward. Spin that back heel down. Inhale your way up into warrior 1 on this side. Hands can be together or hands can be wide. Eliminate that arch in your back by rounding the tailbone and reaching up, keeping the chest strong and lifted, taking the gaze up. If you feel a little bit wobbly here, that's okay. This is a good way to build balance, and eventually it will come. And don't forget to breathe. Try to keep drawing your navel back toward your spine. Good. 1 more inhale. Lengthen forward as you exhale. Plant your hands. Step that front foot back. Another 5 rounds of breath here in plank. This time we're going to add a little option. So if you want to bring your knee to your elbow and then step it back, you can add this. 2 and 3 and 4. Good job, y'all. And 5, last one. We're gonna take a break after this. Let your knees come down wide, sink your hips back to your heels, and just relax the forehead down. You may leave your arms outstretched, or you may prefer to bend the elbows. And maybe walk them forward a little bit. Allow yourself to just breathe here. If your breath feels a little sped up, maybe a little too fast, just focus on slowing it down. I don't know how many of you guys saw David Blaine attach himself to a bunch of hydrogen balloons and go 5 miles over the Arizona desert yesterday. But he did that by actually studying breath and learning how to breathe with drastically lowered levels of oxygen. And if you watched it, or even if you didn't watch it, you probably know he's fine. He made it back. So learning to manipulate your breath in a good way, learning to control your breath can really help you in all sorts of amazing situations. I hope that you won't find yourself floating over the desert attached to balloons, but if that is something that you want to do in your life, yoga and studying the breath could take you there. So keep your eye on the prize, and you can be just like David Blaine. Or you may just get really good at breathing, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. All right, let's take 1 more round of breath here. Now come on to your elbows, and we're gonna move into a pose we haven't done for a minute. So we're gonna allow the bum to just sort of reach up in the air. Imagine your spine is kind of like a hammock. So we're finding that deep back bend that I told you not to find in chair. This is where we want it. We're gonna let the chest sink back. The arms reach out. You can let your forehead rest down. Another option, just like in child's pose, is to bend the elbows and reach the tips of the fingers back toward your back. Start to make our way back into the all fours. Take a few rounds of cat and cow, inhaling to pull the head forward and drop the belly, exhaling to round the spine and drop the crown of the head. After your next exhale, just come to a nice neutral spine, a nice flat back, and then with the toes curled under, we're gonna walk ourselves into a little squat. All right, so a few days ago we worked on crow pose or bakasana. We're gonna work on a slightly different pose that I think is a little more accessible. You're not leaning forward quite as much, so you don't have that fear of crashing onto your face. So the first thing we want is for our hamstrings to be really lengthened out. So we're gonna start with a nice long stretch. Extend the legs, bend your knees a little bit, take a big inhale, sweep the arms up, and then as you exhale, forward fold over your legs. You can hold your feet, maybe wrap your first two fingers around your big toes, whatever works best for you. Try to relax the neck. And you may find as you breathe, you're able to stretch out a little bit more. If not, that is perfectly fine. Imagine with each breath that fresh oxygen is going directly into these muscles in the backs of your thighs, backs of your legs. Let's take 3 more rounds of breath here. Let yourself roll up nice and slowly. Give yourself any squeezies that you need to around your ankles or your feet or your wrists. And then let's come into kind of like a half chair, half squat. So I'm going to take my hands between my legs. I'm going to plant my hands. And then I'm going to walk my feet in toward one another. So I can cross my ankles and then try to hook my feet. So my weight's in my hands. And from here, you can try lifting your feet away from the earth. Another option would be to play with taking your feet out like this. You can always come down into this wide-legged seat. So let's give our wrists a little love, and then let's try that one more time. A few squeezes. Flip the backs of your hands down. Take your knees into your palms. Good. Just kind of allowing the weight of the body to pour down through the knees and massage out the palms, the heels of the hands, all that good stuff. Good. All right, from here, we're going to try that one more time. So back into our little half chair, half squat we go. Another little shake for the wrist. And then planting the hands, you're gonna sit on the backs of your arms. Walk your feet in toward one another. And then crossing your ankles, try to hook your feet. And this is step 1. If you wanna go a little bit farther, you can start to extend your legs out. And then when you're ready, come on down and let's take a nice forward fold. Relax your head. Make sure your toes are flexed. They're pulling back toward your shins. 5 more rounds of breath here. Feel free to walk your hands from side to side, finding some fluidity. You may also find that holding this pose statically and just finding some stillness is what feels best to you. Nice and slowly come rolling up. Try to come up, breathing in, and then bending your knees. Draw the soles of your feet together. Open your feet like a little book. Try to sit nice and tall. We're going to take 2 forward folds here. I'm going to show you guys from the side. So in this first forward fold, this is called Baddha Konasana A, and we find this in a type of yoga called Ashtanga yoga. Not really that important, but it does have a source somewhere. Take an inhale, lift your chest, straighten out the spine, and then as you exhale, send your chest forward just far enough so that you feel a stretch here in your groin and your inner thigh, but the back is actually going to stay really, really straight. So think about a hinge. Just moving back, not rounding, staying nice and straight. Your gaze is down, maybe a few inches in front of your toes. Try to hug your elbows in. With each inhale, try to pull your chest up, lengthening out the spine. Your awareness is down here in your low back. You can imagine creating some space there, creating some length there. Deep inhales, deep exhales. Now on your next inhale, come back up. We're going to do a similar fold, but first we're going to draw our knees in and just give ourselves some loving, little hip flexor loving. So our hip flexors are these bands of tissue right here, and they are responsible for lifting your leg each time you take a step. So you can imagine how worn out and how tight these muscles can get. This is a good way to just kind of give them a break, curl yourself into a little ball. I like to pull my toes kind of toward my shins. It helps stretch out the feet. Try to relax your neck. All right. Now let's try Baddha Konasana B. So this is the comfy version. So inhale to lift your chest. This time as you exhale, don't worry about keeping the spine straight. Just let it round forward. So as you exhale, you can just let your shoulders round, let your head hang. Feel free to sway a little bit from side to side if that feels good. And your awareness in this version of the pose is up here between your shoulder blades. All the space in the top of the back. So keep feeling your shoulder blades sort of wrap around the outer edges of your back. Take 3 more rounds of breath here. Slowly on an inhale, tuck your chin. Come rolling up. Scoop your knees together. Let's come onto our backs. So keep the feet planted, arms down by your side. And we're just going to do a few rolling bridges. So as you inhale, press into your feet. We're going to take the arms overhead and slowly lift the hips. Make sure that the back of your head is lying flat on the ground. So you may want to take the palms of your hand, kind of scoop your head up, lengthen the back of your neck out, and then lay it down. All right, so with your next exhale, slowly, slowly, trying to bring your arms down at the same pace as the rest of your body. Come rolling down. And then inhale to come back up again. Moving at your own pace. The closer your feet are to your body, the more intense the stretch in the hip flexors will be. So if you need a little more, you can walk your feet in. If you need a little less, walk your feet out. Find that space that's happy for you. Let's do 2 more of these. Inhaling, pressing the hips up, stretching all the front body out, and then exhaling, rolling back down nice and slowly. 1 more. Inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, rolling back down. This time bring your knees into your chest. Wrap your arms around your shins. Maybe grabbing your elbows. Give yourself a few rocks from side to side. And then come to stillness. Cactus your arms out. Cross one leg over the other. You're going to scoot your hips to one side and then let your knees drop to the other. Take a few rounds of breath here. Try to keep both shoulders on the mat. It's a little easier said than done. This back shoulder is going to want to lift up. And that's okay. You may have to lift your knees a little bit to get this shoulder to stay down. And that's fine. If you want to add a bit to the twist, you're going to move your head toward or in the same direction as your knees and then look away from your knees. Very slowly. Inhale your way back to center. We'll simply uncross, pick the hips up so we can sort of reset things. And then to the other side we go. Scoot the hips to one side, drop the knees. You can move your head in the same direction and then look over the opposite shoulder. Feeling that stretch, that twist, move through the body. Taking one more deep round of breath. And then come on back to center. Uncross your legs, pull your knees into your chest. And then letting the soles of the feet reach for the ceiling. Grab the outer edges of your feet. You can also grab your ankles if you want. And just start to rock from side to side. You're in happy baby pose. You might want to bring the soles of your feet together. You may like having your legs almost totally straight here. You can also do one bent, one straight. And personally, I think that feels fantastic. But find what works for you. There's not a right way to do this. It's just whatever works best for you and your body on this particular day. Rock it out for a few more rounds of breath in this happy baby. Just feeling calm, noticing the heart rate start to slow down, noticing the breath start to slow down. It's fascinating how our physical body communicates with our mental body, and we can trigger ourselves to become more calm whenever we need to be. Let's find stillness. Release your feet. Give yourself a nice long stretch. Full body stretch. Maybe a little bit of side bending here. And then just come on to your back. Palms toward the ceiling. Let your feet just drop open. The back of your head be nice and heavy. You may take your palms and kind of scoop your head up and then lay it back down so your neck is as long as possible. And just breathe. Nice, long, deep breaths. Take your awareness to the crown of your head and allow that awareness to begin to move down through your face, relaxing the skin around your eyes and around your mouth, relaxing your jaw, removing the tip of the tongue from the roof of your mouth if it happens to be attached there, which is very common. Now let that sense of relaxation and awareness move down through your neck into your shoulders. Relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your neck. Moving down your arms, let your arms relax and be heavy. Allow the center of your body, your core to relax. And finally, feel the heavy, still weight of your legs on the floor. Just letting the earth beneath you support you completely. You may come back to your intention, or you may just continue to follow your breath. Wherever you are, just a few more rounds of breath here. One more deep round of breath. Begin to gently wiggle your fingers and your toes. Circle your wrists and your ankles. Just bring some movement back into the joints. When you're ready, nice and slowly roll to one side. And just take a breath there for a moment. Let yourself be heavy. When you're ready, start to push yourself back up to seated. All right. So let's come back to our journaling for a moment. If there are any obstacles that you could think of, when you encounter those obstacles, sometimes it can help to imagine a giant elephant knocking those obstacles out of the way with his trunk for you. And sometimes that does happen in real life. Maybe not with an actual elephant, but all of these animals tend to be symbols for other things. So this can happen to you in real life. It's not just a myth. Obstacles can always be removed. Most of the time they can be removed, or they can be gotten through or gotten around. So if you're feeling defeated, or if anything's not going quite the way you want it to go, remember that. And if things are going great right now, remember that and feel gratitude, whether it's to a giant elephant god or just to the universe in general, or whatever you personally believe. Thank you all so much for practicing with me today. It's such a joy to still be able to connect with all of you. Please let me know if you have any questions, or if there's anything you'd like to do, and we'll do it. So again, thank you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful day ahead. Namaste.